Well, I'm sharing my screen with you. This is Corella Fickler McLean. I don't have to tell you where I'm from because you can see it, but here this is called Welcome Publishing. But if you go to Welcome, it's the same difference. So now we continue. Remember I told you, whenever you see certain words, so you see the word perfect. So now you're going to be looking at the future perfect progressive. The word perfect, the word that comes before it, that's the verb tense. So you're going to be looking at the future tense of the verb haber. And the word progressive is the verb estar. And a verb that comes after the word perfect is always in its past participle form. The past participle form of an irregular verb is hago. So here it is. So you have the subject, whoever's doing the action. You have the future of the verb haber. Because it's progressive, you have the verb estar, but the estar in its past participle form, and after the verb estar, the most important verb must be in its present participle form, or in Spanish, the gerundio, the gerund form. So let's look at the future haber, because that's the only one that's going to change. The estado and the dudando remains the same. So it's habré, habrás, habrá, habremos, habrán. So let's look at it in English, because I don't want you to think that this is a tense that doesn't exist. We don't use it that much, but it's there. I will have been, this doesn't make that much sense, doubting your explanation, right? Now, the future perfect progressive, you don't use that much if you're just talking about simple ideas. If you're talking about ideas that are more complicated, that's when you use, and you normally don't use it by itself. It's in a clause, a sentence in which you have two clauses, right? But the future of haber is the part that changes. Been, doubting, doesn't. Because what do you have in English? I, you, we, they, he, she, it, will have been, whatever the verb is, the main verb, doubting, playing, speaking. So the part that you have to worry about, or the one that changes, is the haber in its future form, and that's habré, habrás, habrá, habremos, habrán. Now, here we go. It's the conditional perfect progressive. So it's the conditional of the verb haber. It's the conditional of the verb haber, and the rest remains the same, estado dudando. So the conditional of haber is habría, habrías, habría, habríamos, habrían, estado dudando. Before you try to understand this in Spanish, see if you actually use this in English. I would have, because this is would have been doubting. See if you use this in English, because you might be thinking to yourself, oh, this is so complicated. Oh my God, I never say this. Okay, maybe you don't. Maybe you never say this. Or I would never say this. Maybe you won't ever say this. But Maybe it doesn't have anything to do with Spanish as much as it does with English itself. That you don't say this in English, because this is used in a particular way in English, just like in Spanish. Here's my favorite tense. We talked about this and when we were looking at rules in Spanish, rules for Spanish verbs. My favorite, this is not a tense, excuse me. This is a mood, because you're going to see the subjunctive in a number of tenses. The subjunctive, like the indicative, is a mood. The indicative are sentences that are objective, in which you are in which you are stating fact. You're just telling someone something. I speak Japanese, or I speak Farsi. You're just stating a fact. That's very different in saying, I want you to speak Farsi. That's a subjunctive sentence. In English, it's a subjunctive sentence, but nobody teaches it like that. If anything, they'll say, well, it's the present tense, but it's the present subjunctive because you're not giving a fact. You're not giving a fact or objective reality. What you're doing is telling me, you are telling me what you desire from me. That's a subjunctive. We use it in English, but we don't recognize it. It's almost invisible. I would say it is invisible. In Spanish, it is not. It is not invisible. In the present subjunctive, it's a different structure than the past imperfect subjunctive. Okay, so it's not invisible. All right, so here we go. So we are talking about the present subjunctive. We have the verb dudar. Okay, so the present subjunctive is, you have the AR verb. It exchanges the endings with the ER verb. So it's do they, do this, do they, do they most, do them. So if you're talking about what you want from someone, what you desire from someone, what you encourage it. So if I encourage you to doubt his explanation, that to doubt is only in English is in the infinitive. But if you were to take a GRE or SAT or whatever, and they say, what mood is that to doubt? It's a subjunctive. It's a subjunctive, but it's invisible because you don't have to learn a new tense for that. It's invisible, right? Because it's, I encourage that you doubt his explanation. Or I suggest or recommend that you doubt something. That is not the only time used as subjunctive, but it's one of the ones that clearer in English. Sometimes the subjunctive can almost be, you can't even translate it. It's a way of thinking of something. So that's the present subjunctive. This is the imperfect subjunctive. Once again, this is something that you have to learn. I'm giving you structure, but it's the job of your teacher to actually teach you how you use it. But here it is, dudar, dudara, dudaras, dudara, duda, ramos, dudaran, duda, ramos. You know what? I think this duda, ramos. I think that it has an accent. And see, this is how, if whatever I make a mistake or sometimes word changes your cards, and you have an accent or you have it in one line and it's another, but I'm almost sure Dudaramos, not Dudaramos. Yes, I'm going to put the accent. Let me see. This is an apple, so it's real easy. Dudaramos. Now the present perfect. Remember, I told you the present perfect means the verb haber. It's the present tense of the verb haber, but the present tense of the verb haber in the subjunctive. So the only thing that changes is the verb haber. And after the verb haber, you have the past participle. And that would be the past participle of the verb dudar, of the main verb. But what is the past participle? Excuse me, what is the subjunctive of the verb haber? Totally irregular. Haya, hayas, haya, hayamos, hayan. Isn't that a weird verb? I mean, I'm used to hearing it now, but when I remember when I first saw it, I said, oh my God, do they really expect me to memorize all this? That's why I really strongly suggest that you learn the language in the country, just like you learned English in the country, because as you get used to it, it becomes normal. There's no such thing as common sense. Common sense is what has become normal to you. And you hear it enough, and believe me, you do, because the subjunctive in Spanish you use a lot. A lot. I'm gonna do one more so you can digest this. You know what? I'm gonna do this one, the past perfect subjunctive on its own. Okay, so let's look at it. I want to deal with the subjunctive. The present subjunctive, look how it's structured. Do they, dudemos, do them. The imperfect subjunctive, right in front of you, I changed dudara. You look here, right here, next to the last syllable, dudara. So you don't need an accent mark because it's the natural accent. Dudaras, dudara, dudaramos. It's not dudaramos, it's dudaramos. So the accent should be right here. But since it's not where it's supposed to be, next to the last syllable, rather it's the syllable before that, then I must put an accent. Dudaran. Corrala Ficklin McLean, welcome. W-Y-L, do you see how it's spelled? W-Y-L-C-O-M-E. Thank you very much. You have a good day. Stop sharing. And I want to thank you very much. Bye-bye.